You're sitting in your doctor's office. The prescription pad comes out again, another antidepressant. But what if the problem isn't in your brain chemistry at all? What if it's in your gut? And what if an environmental pollutant you've never heard of is making it worse? A team at Harvard Medical School just published findings that could change how we think about and treat depression. This is what they found. There's a bacteria living in your gut right now called Morganella morganii. Most of the time it does nothing remarkable, but under certain conditions, it becomes dangerous. When this bacteria encounters a common industrial pollutant, it produces a molecule that researchers believe can trigger inflammation in your brain. And that inflammation? It's been strongly linked to depression. This isn't speculation. This isn't a wellness trend. This is peer-reviewed science from one of the world's leading research institutions. For decades, we've treated depression primarily as a brain chemistry problem. Low serotonin, low dopamine. The solution? Medications that boost those neurotransmitters. But here's something that's always puzzled researchers. Antidepressants don't work for everyone. About 1/3 of people with major depression don't respond to standard treatments. Why? What are we missing? That question has led researchers to look beyond the brain, to the trillions of microorganisms living in our digestive system. The gut-brain axis. That's what scientists call the bidirectional communication highway between your digestive tract and your central nervous system. Here's a fact that surprises most people. Roughly 95% of your body's serotonin, that happiness chemical, isn't made in your brain. It's made in your gut. Your gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters. They influence your immune response. They communicate with your brain through the vagus nerve. The connection is real and measurable. Previous studies had already flagged one particular gut bacteria, Morganella morganii, as being more common in people with major depressive disorder. But nobody understood why. Was the bacteria causing depression, or did depression somehow change the gut environment to favor this bacteria? Classic chicken and egg problem. The Harvard team, led by researchers at Harvard Medical School, set out to identify the exact mechanism. What they found was published in the Journal of the American Chemical Society in April 2026. The key to their discovery was a chemical you've probably never heard of, diethanolamine, DEA for short. It's an environmental pollutant found in industrial products and some consumer goods. When Morganella morganii bacteria encounter diethanolamine, something unusual happens. The bacteria begin producing an abnormal phospholipid molecule, one that healthy gut bacteria don't create. This abnormal molecule does something that normal gut molecules don't do. It activates the release of interleukin-6-terukins 6-teroli-6-1 of the body's most potent inflammatory signals. IL-6 isn't inherently bad. It's part of your immune system's normal response to threats. But chronic elevation of IL-6 has been consistently linked to major depressive disorder. The researchers demonstrated that this pathway, bacteria plus pollutant equals inflammatory molecule, could be a missing piece in understanding how some cases of depression develop. Think about what this means. We've long known that depression often coexists with chronic inflammatory conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, lupus. Doctors noticed the pattern decades ago. People with chronic inflammation were more likely to experience depression. But correlation isn't causation. The mechanism remained unclear. This Harvard research suggests that at least some cases of major depressive disorder could be considered an autoinflammatory disease, where the body's immune system turns against itself. The study authors put it directly, this discovery strengthens arguments that major depressive disorder, or a subset of cases, could be considered an autoinflammatory or autoimmune disease. If that's true, even for some patients, it opens up entirely new treatment possibilities, not antidepressants. Immune-modulating drugs, the kind already used for rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune conditions. Now, I want to be clear about limitations here. This was laboratory research. The pathway was demonstrated in controlled conditions. We don't yet know exactly how it operates in living humans. Science moves slowly for good reason. But this finding provides a biological target, something researchers can now investigate further, test interventions against, and potentially develop treatments around. Diethanolamine, the pollutant involved, is found in various industrial applications, metalworking fluids, textile production, some cleaning products and cosmetics. It's classified as an environmental contaminant, meaning it's present in our surroundings at low levels. Most people have some exposure, though amounts vary widely based on occupation and environment. The research team emphasized that having Morganella morganii in your gut doesn't automatically mean you'll develop depression. Many factors interact, but this bacteria combined with pollutant exposure may increase inflammatory risk. What determines whether you have this particular bacteria? Like most aspects of your microbiome, it's complicated. Genetics, diet, antibiotic history, environment, all play roles. The gut microbiome is remarkably responsive to what you eat. High-fiber diets tend to promote diverse, beneficial bacterial populations. Ultra-processed foods tend to favor less beneficial species. But let's talk about what this actually means for you. If you're dealing with depression, especially if standard treatments haven't fully worked, this research offers a different lens for thinking about your condition. First, consider talking to your doctor about inflammatory markers. A simple blood test can measure IL-6 and other inflammatory indicators. If yours are elevated, that information could guide treatment decisions. If you have treatment-resistant depression accompanied by digestive issues, bloating, irregular bowel movements, discomfort, that gut-brain connection may be worth exploring with your healthcare team. Supporting overall gut health is something everyone can consider. A diet rich in fiber, vegetables, whole grains, legumes tends to promote a more diverse and beneficial microbiome. Fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, introduce beneficial bacteria directly. Research suggests these foods may help maintain microbial diversity, though individual responses vary. Reducing exposure to industrial pollutants, where practical, may also be worth considering. This might mean choosing personal care products with simpler ingredient lists or improving ventilation in work environments. Reading ingredient labels is a start. Diethanolamine and related compounds sometimes appear in cleaning products, cosmetics, and personal care items. Awareness is the first step toward reducing exposure. Now, I want to be honest about something. We can't control everything. Industrial pollutants are pervasive. Eliminating all exposure isn't realistic for most people. But here's what matters. Understanding the mechanism. Once researchers know how a pathway works, they can develop targeted interventions. That's where this research points us. Immune-modulating drugs already exist. They're used for conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's disease. If inflammation drives some depression, these existing treatments might help some patients. Clinical trials would need to confirm this, of course. Science requires verification, but having a biological target, this inflammatory pathway, gives researchers something specific to investigate. The study points to a possible new target for diagnosing or treating certain cases of depression, as the Harvard researchers described it. That's significant, even if we're years from clinical application. For anyone living with depression right now, the practical message isn't to abandon current treatments. If your medication is helping, keep taking it. If therapy is working, continue. The message is that research is advancing. Our understanding of depression is becoming more nuanced. And for people who haven't found relief with standard approaches, new options may eventually emerge. Depression is complicated. It always has been. There's no single cause, and there won't be a single solution. But each piece of research like this adds to our understanding. Multiple studies over the years had linked Morganella morganii to depression, but this is the first to identify the specific molecular mechanism and the environmental trigger that activates it. That's how science works. Observation leads to hypothesis. Hypothesis leads to experiment. Experiment leads to mechanism. And mechanism leads to potential intervention. We're somewhere in the middle of that process with this gut depression connection. The mechanism is clearer now. The interventions are still being developed. In the meantime, taking care of your gut health is unlikely to hurt and may well help. fiber, fermented foods, limiting ultra-processed options. These are recommendations supported by broad research beyond just a study. If you're struggling with depression, please consult your doctor before making any changes. This isn't about replacing professional treatment. It's about understanding the bigger picture of what might be happening in your body. The gut-brain axis represents one of the most exciting frontiers in mental health research. This Harvard study is one piece of that larger puzzle. The research was published in the Journal of the American Chemical Society, one of the world's most prestigious chemistry journals, giving the findings significant scientific credibility. If this kind of research interests you, hit subscribe. We cover science-backed health stories like this one regularly, translating new findings into information you can actually use. Consider keeping a journal that tracks both your mood and your digestive health. Patterns may emerge that are worth discussing with your healthcare provider. Sometimes the connection becomes clearer when you write it down. Integrative medicine, where gastroenterologists, psychiatrists, and other specialists collaborate, is becoming more common. Don't hesitate to ask for referrals if you think multiple systems might be involved. Remember, chronic inflammation can manifest in many ways beyond depression: joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, skin issues. If you're experiencing multiple symptoms, inflammation might be worth investigating. Anti-inflammatory lifestyle approaches, regular movement, adequate sleep, stress management, whole food diet, support overall health regardless of whether you're dealing with depression specifically. The Harvard finding adds to growing evidence that the gut microbiome plays a central role in mental health, not just digestion. Your gut is, in many ways, a second brain. The enteric nervous system, that network of neurons in your gut, contains roughly 500 million nerve cells. It operates semi-independently from your brain, but they're in constant communication. When that communication goes wrong, through inflammation, bacterial imbalance, or environmental triggers, the effects can reach far beyond digestion. Your brain notices. Your mood changes. So here's where we stand. Harvard researchers have identified a specific mechanism linking gut bacteria, environmental pollutants, and inflammation that may contribute to depression. For some people with depression, not all but some, this inflammatory pathway might be part of their story, and understanding that opens doors to potential new treatments. The science is still developing, but the direction is clear. Our gut health and our mental health are deeply connected. Taking care of one may help the other. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health routine. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves and pay attention to what your gut might be telling you.